Lulu's for sale. She needs a new home, but she's kind of expensive. She's $135,000. The cool part is though, she actually comes attached to a 97 G300 turbo diesel. This truck can be in your driveway. We're gonna walk around it. We're gonna look at all the Easter eggs and hidden gems in this truck and let you know why this one's special. I'm Joe Gocher, Alliance Auto Care here in Loveland, Colorado. We've got some cool stuff for you today. This truck came to us years ago. We built this truck back in 2019, 2020 era. And this has been on the road, many trails. It's seen a lot of adventures, but it's time to move on. It started out as a G320 gas model. And the client came to us and said he just wasn't psyched on the gas model. It was slow, it drank a lot of gas, and it was not exciting. We did the OM606 swap into it. We also got rid of the old 4-speed automatic transmission and we put in a 5-speed transmission. Let's take a look under the hood. So for starters, trucks like this, they have to be able to go down the road and make some decent power. So what we did, we pulled out the straight 6 to 3.2 liter gas. We put in a 3 liter OM606 turbo diesel. We use a Deep Pump UK air box. We mount it through the fender here and we have a side air vent so it does get fresh, cool air. This truck at this elevation, it's about 100 degrees out today. We'll go all day long with the AC on and not get hot, not overheat, and continue to blow cold air. It's pretty wild. Other things you're gonna see, everything is tidied up really nicely under the hood. This is actually a drive-by-wire truck, meaning we have an aftermarket ECU inside of the planning box. We also have the TCU inside of there. It is all aftermarket and it's fully tunable, so you can manipulate it however you want. We did that so that the dash works, the AC works, and it seamlessly integrates with the rest of the truck. It actually turned out really slick. This thing's a pure joy to drive. Compared to a factory 606 truck, this one definitely has a little bit more scoot. Some of the other things we did, starting with the front end, you're gonna see visually, under here, we have an intercooler. This is a bottom mount intercooler. We put it down here. Again, this is an Overland truck. It's not a hardcore off-road truck. This is meant for getting back in the trails, finding your adventure spot, setting up camp and enjoying, and being reliable when you're doing so. So that's why we chose this, because this is a heavy truck and it's got to be able to cool that intake air charge and maintain power going up mountain grades and having a lot of weight on it. So that's why we did that. And it also doubles as a skid plate. It's pretty stout. Up front, we pulled the factory bumper. We put a Latec front bumper on this. This is a stout unit, and there's a worn 10,000-pound winch in there with a synthetic rope. It does have the wireless control that goes with it. Again, it works really well. That's why we ran it. We always preach about headlights. We have the rigid truck light headlights, and we have ARB intensity lights up front on the bumpers. Basically, the power of these with the headlights is roughly the equivalent of a collapsed sun. So if you're going down the road and you want to completely blind oncoming traffic and just turn light into sound, this is where it's at. These things are insane. Moving around the side, the grill and the headlight surrounds have been blacked out along with the fender flares. We did that to kind of pay homage to the professional series, the PUR series, because they come from the factory with blacked out flares and a blacked out front end. It looks sharp, that's why we did it. Client really likes it also. Also up top, you're gonna notice the 5-bar diamond plate. This is really cool. And not a lot of trucks have this, but this is one of those cool little features that if you're out camping or you're out and about or you're using this truck for work, you always end up setting something on here. And this keeps things from getting scratched. It is powder coated, it's really stout. It's 5 years old and holds up really darn well. Moving around the side, the factory flag mirrors have come off of the truck. These are professional series mirrors. The lights on these are also tied into the turn signals, so when you hit the blinker, these light up. Again, it's cool. The thing I really like about these mirrors is they're big. You can see exactly what's coming down the road. It works really well. And again, it pays homage to the purpose-built nature of this truck. This thing was designed for adventure. It was designed to work. It was designed to be a tool and a utilitarian beast that can take you, your family, your loved ones, and go enjoy nature, go get off the grid, and be successful in doing so. The factory running boards, yes, these are the OG Europa running boards. By the way, this is an original Europa truck. It was sold back in 1997. These have been recoated. And then moving around, when we originally built this truck back in 2020, Rear bumper options were pretty sparse. In fact, I don't think there's anything out there that actually offered a swing away tire carrier. And the reason we did the swing away tire carrier, or what necessitated that, is the wheel and tire combo. These are the highly desirable and no longer available 18-inch Hutchinson Beadlocks. These are awesome wheels. They look good. And the odd part is you can't get them anymore. Anyway, this truck has 5 of them. There's a full-size spare in here with the toolbox. So we actually made this bumper from scratch. It's meant for a different model altogether. We modified it to work on this truck, and we actually put side mount supports to tie into the side frame rails to stabilize it. But in doing so, it took all the weight off of the back door, and that was the impetus for doing this, because that's a lot of weight on this tire. And when you're going down the road, off-road, you don't want to have a large, heavy tire pulling out this back door. So we just closed up the holes with some grommets. It's fully reversible. There's no permanent damage here. You can always put the spare tire carrier back on if you want. But that's why we did it. There's also a Baja Designs light for the reverse light in there. And the wiring, you can see that how it's tucked in. It's in the side there. And in the back of the truck, there's some cool stuff. So it does have a full front runner drawer system. Pretty slick. And we actually have a 1500 watt Eaton pure Sine inverter back here, so you can run all sorts of crazy electrical stuff. It's tucked away right there. And if you want, we've got the pull out Dometic cooler and fridge. It ties in, it's set up, you're ready to go. And this is the mount that comes down and angles down too, so fully functional. Before we go around to the rest of the truck, you may notice the back door looks a little different than your typical 1997 interior. This leather and the stitching, it's interesting. Let's look at the rest of the interior and figure out why this is special. But before we do that, you notice we have a ladder back here. And we have lights all around the truck. Yes, we have a rear light. We have side lights, and these are all on separate switches, so no matter where you're going, if you want to light up one side of the truck and see what you're approaching at nighttime, or the other side, it's on separate switches. It's dialed in. Now, one of the cool things, we don't always want to live with a roof rack and a tent on our truck at all times. Let's face it, they're heavy. When we need them, it's a glorious tool and it serves a wonderful purpose. But when we want to take it off, the big question is, how do you get that off of there with all the lights? I'm going to show you. So coming around here to this side, we have a quick disconnect. This is a motorsports connector, and for all intents and purposes, it's a fully waterproof connector. There you go. And that's how we disconnect everything. This thing's been epoxied in, waterproofed, and there's little caps that secure it. So we pull this off, you unbolt the rack, and then you use an apparatus, pick the whole thing up, and you drive the truck out. One of those little things that makes the truck uniquely serviceable and functional, and you're not always having to be stuck with a rack on top of this if you don't need it. Let's face it, it sucks fuel and it's heavy, so it makes the truck drive a little nicer. One of those cool little Easter egg things we did. So right off the bat, you're gonna notice that the seats on this truck are really unique. This is a distressed saddle leather. The seats have been re-leathered, re-foamed, and it does have the deviated stitching that matches the exterior of the truck. One of those little things that ties everything together, all the way down to the shifter gaiter for the transfer case. It's really tidy, it's really tight. Obviously, it's got our cup holder in this. We make these in-house. These are pretty awesome because, let's face it, we all don't have 10-year-olds that can hold our coffee cup for us. So that's one of those things. The transmission shifter, this is the new 5-speed shifter. The truck was originally a 4-speed, so everything fit in there very, very nicely and it's tidied up. Now, again, this truck was built back in 2020, so we were somewhat limited on our options for navigation, infotainment. So we have this piece up on the dash that worked really well. It's got a backup camera. It is Bluetooth and Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatible. At the end of the day, this is fully reversible. So if someone does get this truck and they're not in love with that system, it's not the end of the world. It is fully reversible. There are amplifiers in here, but everything can tidy in. At the end of the day, we can also revert back to the standard head unit, which has just been blocked off down here, or we can look at our other dash upgrade option as well. Being as this truck does use standalone controllers for the engine and transmission, we have the transmission controller, the data point for this is here. So when we fire up the truck, you're going to see the gear that it is, transmission temp, and a couple other things. The interesting thing about that I really like is it allows us to really program the parameters of how this truck drives, how it shifts, where it shifts. If there's something we don't like, we can get in there and just play with it and put it where it wants to be. So if you're a tinker, a geek that likes to have control of your own vehicles, and really make them special and have that ability to say, I've dialed it in perfectly for me. This is your truck. There's also a USB cord in the glove box that you can just plug into your laptop if you want to change the characteristic of the engine and how it drives. We purposely have underbuilt this motor a little bit. We use a smaller Holset HE221 turbo. We use a small 6mm pump that is refreshed and rebuilt. But in doing that with a little bit of tuning, it's about 275 horsepower. But the key thing is it's about 275 reliable horsepower. In other words, we're not having power that's like an old dirt bike. It has a lot of torque fill from 1500 RPM all the way up to 4000 RPM. If you have a broad torque band, it is a pleasure to drive. It doesn't smoke, it's clean, it's reliable, it doesn't get hot, it doesn't do anything weird. That's why we purposely built it this way. We can always build it for more power, we can always build it to be more insane, but at the end of the day, we have to be able to get home. That's why we do this. Other things you're gonna see, the door cards, they match for the back of the truck. We've got the leather, the deviated stitching, all the wood's been lacquered, re-lacquered. The steering wheel is a fairly fresh Mercedes steering wheel with the perforated leather on it. Door cards are still fresh, the pockets are all still fresh, nothing's blown out there. Everything works. One of the other things, we mentioned we have a lot of lights on this truck. Every light has its own button and its own switch. So for instance, we've got this fairly typical factory Mercedes stuff here and here. These down below are add-ons for us. So we've got the front bumper headlights, the front light bar up on top of the rack, the driver's side lights, the passenger side lights, the rear lights coming off the back of the truck, and we have an optional extra as a goodie if you want to add something down the road. So it's pretty tidy, it's pretty clean. We want to look period correct. Moving on to the back seat, we've got a couple things. It looks like your conventional G Wagon back seat, but one of the key differentiators is the doors go to 90 degrees. This makes ingress and egress a lot easier, especially if you're loading up a whole lot of gear in and out of the truck. So aside from that, the rest of the things you're gonna notice are the speakers. They've all been upgraded to focal speakers throughout. The fronts are components, the rears are coaxes. And overall, the truck is, as I would call, a period correct refresh. In other words, we're not changing a whole lot. It's a very, very nice place to be. Okay, so one of the things you're gonna notice is the headliner is not like a factory G Wagon. We pulled the old one out, it had some water damage, and we refoamed it and redid it with this material that's complementary to the seats and the rest of the truck. It dials in very, very nicely. We also have these discrete lights up here as well, because the early trucks, believe it or not, you only had the two rear lights in the back and then the one up front, and it just weren't enough. So we put these in here, we darkened them up a little bit so it adds a little bit better ambiance when you're going down the road at nighttime. So just some of the cool features in this truck. This is a beautiful truck. It's a great example. It drives great. I enjoy driving this truck. We've taken it off-road a couple times. It is very, very capable. But this truck is really built to be the ideal work truck or overlander or just someplace where you want to put your family and go find your next adventure. That's where this truck plays. The other reason this truck is really special is it's built. It's ready to go. We've got the keys, we've got the title, and we're ready to ship it to its next adventure driver. That starts pretty good. On this truck, the exhaust, everyone wants to know how loud is it? We did not make this truck loud. We have this downpipe that comes right through there. It goes into a resonator under here. It goes into a muffler here, and then the outlet is here. It's tucked up pretty tight. It is not loud on purpose. We kept it with a resonator and with a muffler to bring the tone down to make it manageable. Again, you got to be able to go down the road in this with your family and have it livable. That's why we did it. Let's go for a drive in this truck. All right, here we go. So this is the OM606 truck heading up the road. It's a nice driving truck. Again, as I said, it's a turbo diesel. It does have a 5-speed automatic. The other reason we did swap in the automatic with the engine is allows for an additional overdrive and makes your cruising speed much better. That's one of the nice things about this truck is cruising down the road at 75, 80 miles an hour, you're under 3,000 RPM, and it keeps the noise down and all the racket. There's still a lot going on. It's big tires, mud tires, and you've got all the accessories, so it still makes a lot of noise, but it makes it much more manageable. So some of the things you're going to notice as we're driving along, we've got the transmission controller, which is right down here. You can monitor what gear it is, and it does offer full functionality meaning if you want to change the way it shifts, its firmness, its softness, you name it, you have complete and utter control over it. So again, if you're kind of a technological geek like I am, and you kind of deep dive into fun stuff like that, and you want something that you can play with and not be constricted to, this truck is really it. So I'm going to reference the head unit again. This is a love-hate thing. It's very, very functional. We put it here because you have access to it, and when you're looking down the road, you can just look over, and it is touchscreen, so you can change the volume of it without having to think about it. It is fully removable. It is not permanent, meaning when this comes off the dash, it's not gonna, you're not gonna find a bunch of crap underneath here. So again, this was built 5 years ago. This is what we had available to us. We've moved leaps and bounds since then. So it is fully Bluetooth enabled with CarPlay and all that stuff, and we do have a backup camera, which is really nice on bigger trucks like this. So moving here, we're gonna do a exterior walk around and a full once over on it. One other thing I will say on this truck is all the windows are UV tinted, meaning we have ceramic tint everywhere, including the windscreen. And I know I've preached this in some of my past videos, but having tint on these vehicles is really important because it's just a big greenhouse. But when you take the time to tint it with the UV reflective tint, it brings a lot of the heat and temperature out. It just reflects it, so your air conditioning does not have to work as hard, and you've got a lot, it's a much more pleasant place to be. The front is 100% clear. The sides, I believe, are 33%. It's legal in just about every state, and it makes it so you're not getting sunburnt going down the road, because nobody likes that. So now that we have the whole thing set up, it's a Darche 270 awning. We've got the tent up top. It's fully functional. Never again do you have to be somewhere and stand out in the sun. The other cool thing is this is fully zipper ready for the vestibule to enclose this entire area. Now granted, we do a lot of these systems. I'm not super familiar with this one. It took me all of 6 minutes to get the whole thing set up. I'm pretty impressed. It's pretty slick. It tucks up nicely. It goes down the road really well. And at the end of the day, just look at this. How awesome is this? Imagine rolling up to your campsite somewhere up in the mountains, 10,000 foot. You've got the lake in the background. You've got the family. You've trucked up miles of off-road trails that would have taken you the better part of an entire day, and you would have been exhausted. You've got all your goodies in the back. You've got the fridge in the back. You cook dinner. You have a wonderful place to stay, a wonderful place to camp. The next day you can pack up and continue on your adventure. This is the ideal truck for that. It's reliable. It only has 80,000 miles on the odometer. Pretty low. It's fully built. It's fully vetted. It's tested. It's reliable. And it's for sale, ready to go into your driveway. I'm Joe Gocher, Alliance Auto, Loveland, Colorado. We have this truck in our inventory. I'd love to hear from you.